And we are live. What is going on, art enthusiasts and change makers? This is another episode of Art for Change podcast. Today is Soulful Sunday. And I am your host, Mr. Sapiosexual, and my co-host is in the building. I got Mad Hatter Marshall and Lady Alva. How y'all doing today?
Very nice.
Very
Yes,
good.
yes.
Very
Yeah,
good.
we got a special guest tonight. For those who don't know, we got Jamaica's own, the historian in her own right, Marie Ashley in the building. What's going on, Lady Marie?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for accepting
Yes.
the
I really
interview.
appreciate this opportunity to talk about history, to talk about the Ketchum House and Hollis. Hollis has a tremendous history. So I really appreciate this opportunity. Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay.
Oh. Would you like me to tell you a little bit more about myself
Well,
since I'm here?
well, let me ask you something, and then we can go from there. So, you're from Jamaica. You're born in Jamaica?
Yes, I am.
What I
Proudly.
don't forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. What town or city of Jamaica are you?
Okay,
Are you
so
from?
I'm from St. Andrew, which is right next to Kingston.
Oh, okay.
Kingston.
Yes, my
Okay.
parents are from different parishes. My mother is from Manchester, and my father is from St. Mary.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's
When you
awesome.
say parishes, what does that mean? Tell
So
the people.
Jamaica, America is divided into states, and Jamaica is divided into parishes.
Oh.
And
Now,
I'll tell you
when
one interesting fact. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Good.
sorry.
Well, when I
I'm
hear
gonna
the
tell
word
you.
parishes, it brings me to Catholicism, if I'm saying it
Oh,
right. Yeah, you know the parish. So it's about it's spirit God. So is
uh-huh.
that the same when you in Jamaica parishes?
Well, it's divided. The country is divided into parishes, and interestingly enough, with the British history, initially it was
Mhm.
named after, we have Saint Catherine, Saint so on.
It was
So
named after
different.
Okay.
parishioners.
Maybe I'm not really sure how that came about, to be quite honest, but
Mhm.
we do have these things. And I was going to say something interesting because I mentioned that my
Sure.
father's family is from Saint Mary. You
Sure.
know, you all recognize the Boston tax fiasco back in the day.
Okay.
They had the tax revolution in America back in the day, in the patriotic days. Do you know that the first tax revolution actually occurred in Jamaica, in the world?
No.
And
No.
and my great grandfather was the sergeant who was there trying to quell that. He was the what do you call it now, the police officer who was in charge, so he had to report
Wow.
back to the queen. It was actually the first tax revolt in world history.
Wow.
Oh,
There,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Learn
Wow.
something new every day. I love
there you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I just did a Google search and about parishes, because I only know about it as far as Christianity,
Okay.
because even Catholicism, they're Christians. It's just different practices and some beliefs that we differ. Um, but then I put in parishes of Jamaica, and Jamaica is divided into 14 parishes, which serve as the main units of local government.
Hmm.
These parishes are grouped into three counties: Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey.
Sorry, yes, Cornwall,
Yeah,
Middlesex, and
Surrey.
Surrey.
Okay. And Surrey. Yeah, yeah. And then Manhattan to you, the parishes are Kingston, St. Andrew, and you too, Marie. St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester,
Clarendon. Hmm.
yes, St. Elizabeth,
Hmm.
Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, what is that? Trelawney?
Trelawney.
Trelawney,
That's right
St.
above
Anne,
Manchester. Hmm.
okay, St. Mary, Portland, and St. Thomas.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So that's that just like that's real interesting to me because it is really laying the foundation of godly.
Mm.
Yeah. All the saints.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Those were
It's
not
really
the original parishes, though, but those are the ones they evolved into. They initially there were less, and then they
okay.
evolved. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
that's where we are.
Okay. Okay. So I gave you the title, if you will, of a historian of her own right. And the reason that I did that because first of all, I don't want to step on. We don't want to step on any historians' toes because it's a big deal to be an historian, and it's a
Of
lot
course.
of knowledge that you have to learn and gain, and continual research of a historian. It's not just about one landmark or one land. It's broad.
Mhm.
So, but in your own right, why I say that because you are coming from the Ketchum house. And how are you coming from the Ketchum house? Because you're raised there. And from that, you found out all this amazing history being raised there. You, your mom, your parents, and your siblings. So tell us about it.
Okay, so as actually, when I moved here, my an older sister, she's passed now. We went to research. We went to the library, and we came across an old photograph. Um, and one of my favorite historians at this point is a fellow by the name of Eugene Armbruster. He has a tremendous collection of photographs. You can find it in the library, it's online. But this was the go to person back in the late 1800s. Like if you wanted to find out something about your house in Brooklyn or in Queens, you write to the newspaper, he would research it and tell you. So he took a picture of this house and he called it the Ketchum House. He took the picture in 1923 and he took another picture in 1926. What he actually did, like some of the other historians of the time, they would go all through the neighborhood and take pictures. So he would give a lot of information about the houses. And that's how I found out. And then I called. Um,
But
uh,
wait, pause for a minute for me, Marie.
sure.
You found out. So, how old were you? You were already living in this house. Tell
Oh,
us how you got to this house, being
oh,
raised.
okay. My
Give us
my
that first.
my parents, my mother bought this house back in 1990. I already had my own. I didn't actually grow up here. My nieces and nephews grew up here. I
Okay.
only came to this house when my parents retired. I physically moved in 1998 when my parents retired. I already had my own house in Rosedale. And I
Okay.
came
And your mother bought the house when? Give us the year again.
She bought it at end of 1990, early 1991. Pretty much they
Oh,
moved in
okay.
1991.
Okay.
So, and we have nieces and nephews who were born here, lived here for their whole lifetime, now in their 20s.
Okay.
But yeah, but I actually came to this house because there was another Jamaican family living here. They went to the same church with my family. And one day I got a call from my sister saying, "Oh, Marie, this house is up for sale." I guess they hadn't done it publicly yet. And then she wanted me to buy it, but I just gotten another house. So that's how we came to the house. My mom purchased it. We lived here all this time. When my mother retired, they didn't know what to do with the house. I said, I would like to keep it alive for the family, for the community, because by this time I found out the tremendous history. And that's what blew me away. I mean, because here's the thing about Mr. Ketchum. Uh, he has been a tremendous part of New York City, the school system, the medical system,
Mm.
the religious spirit of the whole community. He was there at the start of Hollis because his farm was one of two farms that made up Hollis. Okay, there were two farms, two major farms. And if you know this area, right here, this house is at near Jamaica Avenue. His farm extended all the way down to Springfield Boulevard. So it's a tremendous.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes, I have a website dedicated to the house. It's called theketchamhouse.org. And there you can see pictures of the maps that shows, how far down it went. He was
Mhm.
considered the oldest resident. When he died, they called him the oldest resident of Hollis because he was here before Hollis, and he was just a tremendous part, of the whole community. And,
Mhm.
the school system also. Did I mention the school system?
Right.
Yeah, when
Yes,
they
you did.
formed the
An
first, when they
advocate for
formed
the
the
school
first,
system.
yes, when they formed the first school district, he was 79 years old, and they wanted him to become the secretary of the school district. So, and he did.
Wait,
He
when they
accepted.
formed the first school district? Really?
Of Queens, when Queens was first
Yeah.
formed and brought into New York City, the first school district was called School District 43. And
Oh.
they asked him to be the secretary, and he said, of course I will, but I need an assistant because I'm not that young anymore. So
Right, right,
he
right.
served. He absolutely served. So between
Oh.
Armbruster, learning about Armbruster being this person, this go-to person, learning about the history of the Ketchum House, I was hooked. I started researching all the other houses in the neighborhood. I
Mhm.
was hooked, because
Good.
back in the day, not we have TV now, but back in the day, every detail of the person's life is in the newspaper. That's how they shared it. So even here,
Yeah,
I'm looking
or
at the
radio, or radio, or
right,
radio.
or even
Right.
before right, because Ketchum bought the house in 1849, and he
Ooh,
bought it from a
okay.
merchant who already had the house.
And
Wow.
So
did he raise a family there, wife and
yes, he
children,
did.
or
Yes, he did.
okay?
He comes from a very old and prominent family in Long Island.
Okay.
Amazing.
And he came over after his father died, and he was about, I think, mid-20s. His wife was
Mhm.
pregnant with a child. Unfortunately, she passed away when she was
Mhm.
16, and he had one other son. The other son had
Mhm.
had two boys, and actually, for a very long time, only two houses were on this farm that extended all the way down to Springfield Boulevard.
Wow.
And
Now the farm starts from, is it 190th Street in Hollis?
it
Where
starts from 99th Avenue, right by the
and
railroad.
what street though? What's the
Hollis
cross street?
and Hollis.
And Hollis Avenue.
And Hollis
Wait a
Avenue, and it
minute.
goes all the way down
No, no,
to
no.
Springfield
But
Boulevard.
wait a minute, Marie, because I lived on Francis Lewis Boulevard and 99th Avenue, between 99th Avenue and 100th Avenue. The
Right,
next avenue up is 104th Avenue, and then we
right,
reach Hollis Avenue.
right.
So Hollis Avenue is going this way.
Mm-hmm.
99th Avenue is same parallel. So
Uh,
what is the street that you're
no,
on?
99th Avenue actually intersects Hollis because
Yeah, well,
90,
if you keep going upward bound, right? Up in the
right where
numbers, yeah.
there's an intersection of Farmers Boulevard, Hollis
Mm-hmm.
Avenue, and 99th. So even though it
Okay.
curves, it does curve,
Yes,
but it
yes.
runs
Mm-hmm.
along the border, pretty much runs along the border of the railroad.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
And
I have to come
originally,
back out and see that
yes,
because
and
it's been years. Go
originally
ahead.
the railroad was not elevated.
Oh,
Originally, it was just you just walk across and so on. Yeah.
oh, I never
Hmm.
knew that.
There
Oh,
are.
okay.
I put some videos. I made a YouTube channel called Marie at the Ketchum House, and
Mm-hmm.
in some of these videos, you can actually see what it looks like in the past.
Oh, yeah, I have to look at that. That's interesting. I just know 99th Avenue, the railroad, when because my grandmother bought her house
Mhm.
on between, like I said, right off of 99th Avenue. And then
Right.
100th Avenue is the
The
next.
next one over.
On Francis Boulevard. But it was already elevated, the Long Island Railroad. And a lot of raccoons. That's what I remember.
Oh,
A
come to
lot
this
of
yard.
raccoons. Yeah.
Listen, we have a pet raccoon called Rocky.
Yeah. Oh, really? See, and one year she put up the iron bars, like a gate over the bay window of the house, which is the
Mm.
living room inside. And one day we see the raccoon. A raccoon is climbing up that bar. Like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me! But I would look out. I could look out at night from her bathroom window, which is there's an alley for those Francis Lewis, the houses on Francis Lewis, only about 3 or 4 of them.
Mhm.
And then the block over, which was 208th Street. So we had an alleyway, but the Long Island Railroad you can see, and I would see the raccoons hanging, like just hanging on the limbs, upside nocturnal, like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, but
I can
so
appreciate them.
yeah, Ketchum. What was Ketchum's ethnicity?
Okay, so
Okay.
Ketchum is descended from he's English, and he's actually cousin to Walt Whitman. You know the poet?
Yes.
He's
I
cousin
know.
to Walt Whitman. Yes,
Mhm.
he comes from the family. The Ketchum family came to America in the 1600s, so they were the original people that came. In fact, he's descended from the first Caucasian woman born on Long Island.
What?
He sure is, but a
Wow.
lot of people are. So
Wow.
he sure is.
Wait,
She said, well, a lot of people are, but
say, Bill, when you
About 1 million New Yorkers are at this point. But
wait, but
oh wow.
Mhm.
Mister, when you say wow, because what did you just say? I can't wrap the first Caucasian woman
born
Long
on Long Island. Yes, the first
What does
Caucasian
that
woman.
mean? What does that mean?
That means before that time, the only people that were being born on Long Island were native, and she was the first person of European descent born on Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, I have that information in one of the videos. If you go, there is a video that talks about the history of the house, and that shows her that information. Yes, indeed.
Wow, that's amazing. I never thought of anything like that. You know, it makes you think about Christopher Columbus. I don't know what you're talking about.
But even think about places like
Caucasian, pure, or no African American blood mixed in there?
no, he is there
No,
is Dutch.
the first woman.
Yes, there is
Caucasian.
Dutch and English.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
His history is Dutch and English because the English family came over. There were some of the original people to settle Long Island. As a matter of fact, a lot of his relatives, like Long Island City, they were the ones who created those towns. His grandfather, one of the things of note was his grandfather, Zebulon Ketchum, hosted George Washington when George Washington was coming through, because what happened in Long Island, the British were here, and so there was an inn, the Ketchum Inn in Long Island, and the British would come and eat, and so the owners would hear their secrets and they share it. They were spies, and so they convey that information over to the Union troops. And so when the war was won, George Washington took a tour of Long Island to thank these quote unquote spies. And he ate dinner at Zebulon Ketchum's house. Yeah. So there is a lot. And Ketchum is also related to the Amityville Horror House.
Really? Well, we all know about that. Amityville Horror is the actual house that that's in Amityville, Long Island.
That's his relative as
Wow.
well. So this Ketchum, the problem with Ketchum is that he had 2 sons, and he outlived his son. He outlived his grandchildren, except for one. He had one grandchild who had his same name, and that grandchild married twice but didn't have children. And that's why the line, I believe, that's why it stopped. Like the stories, there was no one to tell their stories. And I think I came to the house and I feel like I was brought here for a reason.
It sounds like that to me.
Yeah.
Because
I've spoken the story.
What's that? Say
Pardon
that
me?
again, mister.
I was like, to preserve the story.
Yes. And
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was a movie star here. There's just so much that happened in this place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Ketchum girl who was considered, the Ketchum girl in her time was considered what you would, if you put Marilyn Monroe and Zaza Gabor and
Yes.
all that together, in her
Yes.
time, that's who she was. Well, this was her last home. She died in this house in
Wow.
Amen.
1953. Hmm.
That's
And
amazing.
Well,
again, no children to tell her story. So here I am. I'm here to tell all their
wow.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very profound. So just to for if any don't understand, when you say the first Caucasian woman born on Long Island,
Okay.
but there were natives, who are the
Yes.
natives of Long Island?
Um, okay. Well, I can't really say exactly because that was over at the end of
Mm-hmm.
Long Island. But over here, there were the Indians. That's why Jamaica is called. That's not the exact name, but
Mm-hmm.
these were the Indians over here. And I've had the good fortune to come across other people who live in Hollis who have been so fascinated by the history of Hollis that
Mm-hmm.
they've also been studying and sharing information with me. And
Yes.
one of
Okay.
the things I was told recently was that Farmers Boulevard was called this, had this name because
Mm-hmm.
that's the road that the Indians would take to do their trading.
Hmm.
Wow.
Right? So
Kudos to the Native Americans. And that is in my bloodline.
that's there you go.
Good,
There you
yeah,
go.
good information.
There
And
you go.
also just that museum, when you and I have spoken personally, Rufus, I think
Oh,
I
Rufus
learned
King
from that yeah, I learned from
Manor.
that museum that long ago that whole area, like Queens, was it? It was Long Island. Queen, it was part of Long Island or something like that.
That's
I think
correct.
I learned.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, what? But then somewhere they divided it and separated it. But it
Right.
was all Long Island. It wasn't even Queens.
That's
And we're
right.
talking about Rufus King. It's a historical landmark, and they made it into a museum. She'll tell you more. Marie will tell you more about that from because my memory. But yeah, but the time when he came to live on that land and have buy that house for him and his family, there was no such thing as like Jamaica
Hollis.
Avenue because it's on Jamaica Avenue in Queens. It was all Long Island.
Right. But it would have been, for example, it would have been Jamaica, Long Island, or even
Mm-hmm.
When Hollis came into existence near the beginning of 1900, like at the end of
Mm-hmm.
1800s, it was called Hollis, Long Island. Um,
See?
and in
Yeah.
fact, before this area was called Hollis, it was called the place east of Jamaica because
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica had its, was already developed and so on. So that's
Right.
what it was called. It didn't
Yeah,
have, yeah. Mhm.
that's real interesting. So when you think about New York and the five boroughs, Long Island is not considered one of the boroughs. But obviously, from back then, clearly it was a borough until they divided.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
don't know where Staten Island came into play. Was Staten Island a part of that already? I don't know. But
well
it's very interesting.
if you consider that even Manhattan was farm at one time,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
was before it became, established as a place with
Right.
skyscrapers and stuff. Everything was farm.
It's
Everything was,
farm.
yeah, and Queens was one of the last places to give up its farms, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I was told that. I think I learned that at that Rufus King museum. And because yeah, you're right. A lot of it was a lot of farmland covering New York. Even in
Yes,
the Bronx. I lived
yes,
in the old Italian neighborhood in the Bronx, and that's Morris Park Avenue area. And one of the ladies, my neighbors, when I lived there, I met her, and she said she's like five generations for her husband, the man that she married, and she was telling me how all up and down on Vice Avenue was nothing but like farm and stables. So when
Right.
she told me this, I said it made sense because you can see some of the houses and like the weird, which is weird to us now, type of garage. Oh, well, now that makes sense. Like that was a stable.
That
And
was a
then even on Morris Park, it was a hardware store, and I went into it, and I'm talking about these things, and the guy owned, I guess, or the hardware store. He says, "Come back here." It used to be stable and
Mm.
where people would come to see black and white movies. So in the back, it's still there. You can see it. I said, "This is
Wow.
amazing." Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
History is something else. Yeah.
It's
So
I'm telling you, yes.
yeah, yeah. So, okay. So your mom came and bought the house 1990, 91. You said.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And with her husband, and
Yes.
how many siblings? How many children?
There were six of us, but we were pretty much grown. So my sister, one
Okay.
of my oldest sister who's passed now, she and
Mm-hmm.
her children moved in. So
Okay.
yeah, she and her
Okay.
children. So her children very pretty much grew up here, and then even at a later date, because originally when we came to America, we lived in Richmond Hill, Queens,
Okay. Okay.
and
Nice area.
which was interesting because we were the only people of color on the block and half the
Yeah,
block.
I'm sure. I'm
Okay,
sure. Yes,
but
yes.
and so my other sister eventually came over with her. Her children were young teens at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
they grew up here as well. And then they had children, and their children grew up here as well. So we've got
Okay.
generations here that are invested in this, in this.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna ask. I'm hoping two more questions, and I'm gonna pass it on to the host and the co-host here.
Okay.
Um, what is your purpose in all of this with the
Well,
Ketchum House?
well, listen. I think that you cannot replace history. You tear it down, it's gone. Now that I've learned the tremendous history of this place, we've got the original Gibson girl. We've got there was a millionaire, the Dairy King,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Campbell, the first man to put milk in bottles. Prior to
Mm,
him, yes, prior to him, the dipper, the guy would just go down the street and ladle out the milk to the people, and he made it
mm-hmm.
more sanitary for the world by putting it in the bottle. Now, and he purchased the land with the aim of putting his dairy here, but it never
Wow.
happened. There were some issues with Dunton from the railroad who created Hollis, but there is such tremendous history. It is my understanding, I've been told, is that there are only about 20 houses of this caliber in Queens. 20 of this
Yeah,
caliber.
I think it's one similar. I don't know if it's of Cal, but there's a mansion because this house has, said nine, you told me when we talked behind the scenes, 9 bedrooms.
It does. It does.
It's a mini mansion or it's a mansion.
It's
Call
big.
it,
It's
and
big.
when I was sharing this with my girlfriend of what is going to be on this our podcast, Art for Change,
Mhm.
tonight, she said, well, which one are you talking about? Because it's one like 212 in Springfield. There's a big house. And I said, I remember that one. I'm not sure from my memory. I cannot remember this one. And she was
Mhm.
saying like 190th for somewhere down that up that way or down that would be. But
Mhm.
wow, yeah, it's amazing. Only 20, you said.
Only 20 of this
Let's see.
caliber, and this is the only one on an oversized property. So it makes it unique
Wow.
in Queens.
Yeah.
And I should point out, like I started to say before, his son's house was built on the farm, and it
Oh.
exists today still on the next block. So if you
Oh,
take an
wow.
aerial, yeah, if you take an aerial view, you go on Google, you take an aerial view, you'll see these two large plots of land, and that house is amazing as well.
Oh
Because
wow.
while this house had been kind of modernized, you could see marble, this
Yeah,
that
yeah.
house still has its original.
Ooh,
It's amazing.
Is it occupied? Is it
Yes,
occupied?
that family has been
Oh
there since
wow.
the 60s. Yes.
Oh
It's,
wow.
yeah. Beautiful
Nice.
house. I had approached the Landmarks Preservation Council
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to see if we, because, Hollis is in southeastern Queens. And sadly, it's underserved in terms of preservation. It really is.
Mm. Mm.
Tremendous history. And so when I approached the Landmarks Preservation Council, I was trying to see if I could make a historical district here.
Yes.
Because
Right, right.
in a short few blocks, there is, Al Sharpton grew up like 2 blocks
Yeah.
over, 3 blocks
Yeah,
over.
as you know, in Hollis, and then next door you go to St. Albans. There's a lot of
Exactly.
stars and
Mhm.
historians that have lived and
Exactly.
dwelt there. Yeah, yeah, and
Exactly.
thrived.
Just
Thrived.
in this let's say from here, I am at the cross section. I'm between 99th and 100. Let's go from
Okay.
100 up to 104. There
Okay.
are so many historical people that lived in that two
Wow.
blocks. So I approached them for
Wow.
that, but they're interested in this house as a
Mm-hmm.
unique historic. They want to look at this and review it more fully as the possibility of preserving it
Yeah.
for the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my next thing is a statement, and then you can expound on it if you want, Marie.
Yes,
I
sure.
think this is just so amazing. And why, history is always amazing. And one to step up to preserve his historical landmarks is always amazing. But what is more profound to me is that there is a black woman, you, Marie Ashley, that wants to preserve something, a landmark, historical place that belonged to a European Caucasian man and his family.
Hmm.
I have not heard this before. And I could be, maybe it does exist. I'm not saying, but I have not heard this before. And I
Right.
think it's amazing. And I think that it is a crossover. Say, Mister, it is the word that you had arose in one of our other shows about that intersection, of fighting for rights. What was that
Yeah.
word? And yeah, it's
But
amazing to me. And I support you in it. And
thank you.
I'm going to say whatever I can do as Lady Alva, as part of Art for Change, and as part of the Hummingbirds. I am here to serve. And
Thank you
it's
so
amazing.
much.
You're
Thank you so much.
welcome.
I
You're welcome.
think when you're a part of a community, if you
Yes.
want the future of your community to be a good one, you need
Mm-hmm.
to secure the things from the past. The past
Mm.
is so critical, and it does, because listen, before America was America, there
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of Shinnecock Indians and
Yes.
Cree Indians.
Seminole Indians. I'm a Seminole.
Exactly. And yet we celebrate America. So
Yes.
to me, it's so important. Let me tell you, in this community, uh, so many different nationalities have come through. In Hollis, there was the Haitian community that came
Mm-hmm.
through and built, the Jamaican community, the West Indian community.
Nice.
I'm told that there was a huge influx of people from the Carolinas that came up here.
Oh,
And then you
wow.
have the Italians, because this area started out, you had the Indians, then you had
Mm-hmm.
the Dutch, you had the British,
Mm-hmm.
you had
Mm-hmm.
the Italians, the Irish.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, there is so much that creates
Much.
this area. How could you
Yeah.
exclude any? How could you
Yeah.
exclude any in your history?
Exactly. And
It's
when my
all
grandmother bought her house on Francis Lewis Boulevard, I can tell you the address, 9909 Francis Lewis Boulevard. And it was in the early 70s. And it was still Queens Village is that area. Right off of Hollis is 3 blocks down.
Mhm.
Jamaica Avenue is a block up. Then you move on to Hillside and everything. But it was a lot of Caucasian people, Italians, and I maybe some Dutch, but I definitely know Italians and all of that. But yeah, and still today. And let me say this about Queens and put this out there, because what Marie Ashley is doing and what is in purpose of doing, the borough of Queens and all our councilmen and women, legislative, listen up. And why you should listen up? Because this is not the usual and it's important. And I'm a Queens girl, raised from 12 years old in Queens Village. And I left Queens in 1999 and lived up in the Pocono, PA. And anytime I came back to New York to go through Queens, and when I came back to New York to live in 2012, 2013, and I go through Queens, I was amazed. I said, Queens is I know. I said out loud, Queens is the one borough that is so pristine. Like I can go to Queens Village and it looks the same when I was 12 years old. Only thing that has changed is the businesses. The same businesses are there. But the properties, the neighborhood, it's amazing. So as you pour councilmen and women this money into Queens, and you're doing a great job, but let's pour into the legacy of landmarks in our community.
Indeed.
I thank you, Marie, for your time. You guys got it. Yes.
Thank you. Again, I will say it again. Thank you for having me here. I think
Yes.
sometimes sometimes there are conversations had on like a personal basis with different people, and we're just echoing what other people are thinking. We're giving
Yes.
voice to other people,
Yes.
and I'm glad for the opportunity.
Yes, and gentlemen, please let me just read some of these. I got Hope 25 ounces. What you got? What kind of ounces you got, Hope? She says, way to go,
It's
Marie.
the Hope Diamond, 25
Thank
ounces.
you.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And then I got JL Diamond, which is a sister of mine in Christ, and more. She says, great work you are doing, the Hummingbirds, Evelyn. Thank you, JL Diamond, and thank you for joining. And then Art for Change. We're saying, yes, absolutely. Way to go, Marie. Thanks for commenting. You guys got it. Say,
All right, man. All right, man. I had to take the floor, brother.
Okay.
Okay. Before we hop into this, I got actually a couple from watching and listening from. I had a couple. Would you call him a grandfather of, like, I don't know New York. I don't know if it would be Tribeca, the Three Bridges, or would you call him a grandfather of that area?
You mean Mr. Ketchum?
Yes.
He was considered, they revered him as the oldest. When he died, they called him the oldest resident of Hollis. He was considered the person. He was a land assessor. He was a commissioner. He was a school commissioner. What role didn't he hold? You know, he was just, I would call him that. I really do feel that he was integral to the growth, and the development of this area. And the sad part is he did not have offspring that survived to be able to help him keep his name alive, his legacy alive, you know? Yeah. His grandson, actually, his namesake, David Warren Ketchum, also inherited this. The whole family was civic minded. They served on every committee you can think of. And in 1931, David Warren Ketchum, the grandson of Ketchum, he also grew up on the farm because his father's house is the next house over. He raised $250,000 to develop Jamaica Hospital. Ooh, so right now, there's a plaque there to him. So when I say this family was integral to the development of this whole place, it's just a shame.
$250,000 in what year?
In 1931, imagine.
$250,000 in 1931. Do you know what that increments in now?
That's right. He helped to develop. He has a plaque there in Jamaica Hospital.
What does it increment to now?
I with the inflation and everything from 1931, you're talking like $100 million in American money.
That's what it seems that this he was also he was okay. David Ketchum's grandson was a banker. He was a banker, um, a very prominent banker, but he was very involved in Jamaica Hospital. He was chairperson of the United Health Fund. So he was very involved in trying to get good health care to the people of Queens. That was his
Mm.
big focus. And I really don't know why he married twice and never had children. So a part of me thinks there might be something there, that there's a reason why he decided was so devoted to trying to get good health care to Queens. But yes, this and it's just a shame there was no child to keep the legacy alive, to tell the stories over and over again. They are linked. This family is linked to. Let me call out some names. You ever heard of a place
Mm.
called Nostrand? You ever heard of a
No.
place called Remsen?
Wait. Say it again. You said no strength.
Yes, there. That's his relative, Remsen. That's his relative.
And only thing I know about No Strand is in Brooklyn, No Strand
Exactly.
Avenue.
Exactly,
Oh,
a street. Yes,
oh,
because
wow.
these were the family was. He comes from family, and let's go back a little bit to the concept of a non-Caucasian person promoting the history of a Caucasian person, and thinking that maybe the America's history there was slavery. This family, from my understanding, did not embrace slavery. You understand? On even on Long Island,
Good,
if
good,
there was
good
one or
thing
two
to talk about.
relatives, pardon?
Good issue to raise.
Yeah, one or two
Yeah.
families had one or two slaves way back when over on Long Island, but over here, this was not the case at all.
Okay.
This
Okay.
person stood. Ketchum was on the draft board. He was
Mhm.
very much a person of the community, promoting the community. Um,
Mhm.
and you know, the people in this area at the time, for example, his helpers would have been from Eastern Europe or Italy or something like that. So, that was just the makeup of the area at the time. So, yeah, this was a person, I think, first and foremost, we all live in communities, and I celebrate anyone who celebrates community to keep us safe, keep us grounded. And I know we talked, Lady Alva, about Marcus Garvey's statement. Maybe you want to state it because
Oh, yes.
that's my
Yes.
favorite thing
But
to say.
as I looked that up, Mad Hatter, you continue.
Oh, I'll tell you what it is if you want me to say it.
No, I believe I saved it.
Okay.
But
It's
let
my
me see.
favorite thing. And by the
Yeah.
way, just want to add out again the beauty of history. I found out that my uncle married Marcus Garvey's niece.
Wow,
Oh,
look at
That's
that.
wow.
right.
That's
And then my
amazing.
Wow.
cousin, my cousin, her family is Marcus Garvey's wife was Amy Jakes. So my
Amy
cousin's
Jakes.
last name is Jakes.
Yes.
So
Oh,
this is a
wow.
small world. We can't discount history because these are the
Yeah.
people that created a world where we're safe, that we as colored people can now live and breathe. This comes from history, from the actions of people who went before us. We can't discount them.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
Okay.
can't discount them.
Yeah, that's right. You go ahead. You can quote it. Quote
Oh, it
Marcus Garvey.
says it says a people without knowledge of their past is like a tree without roots.
Yes.
And I
Okay.
love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Now,
Man,
Marcus Garvey, a black man or white man.
Black.
black man.
From
Right.
Jamaica. From
Right.
Jamaica.
So, was he saying that just to the black people, or was that just an overall blanket covering for all of people?
Marcus Garvey led the Back to Africa movement. Okay,
Mhm.
my father's grandmother, who was born in Africa and came to Jamaica after slavery, married a
Mhm.
Scottish man, married a Scottish man, but
Mhm.
joined Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement. She wanted to go back to Africa. I
Okay.
suspect that, of course, he was speaking to the people who were without roots. You know what I mean? The people who were
Mhm.
plucked from one place and put somewhere else.
Okay.
However, in the framework of Jamaica, Jamaica's motto is out of many, one people.
Mm. I love that.
Because we
I like
celebrate
that.
our Jamaicanism, we don't celebrate separatism. So, in the
Yes, I like
spirit
that.
of that, I'm thinking he's speaking to everyone,
Say
Right.
so.
And
right?
Exactly.
here you are, out of many, one
One
woman
people.
wanting to
Okay,
preserve this land that is not necessarily of my lineage through
that's
blood,
right.
but its roots.
It's roots.
There you
It's
go.
roots. And
I
it's roots
love it.
for our neighborhood now have people from Asia, people Muslim descent. It's now their roots too.
Right.
Everybody needs to join in and understand that the roots are there. We're just adding on our branches, but it's still the
Right.
one root. We should not
Right.
separate ourselves. We should celebrate where this whole thing has come from. All the people who lived here in the 50s and the 60s and enjoyed the liberties of
Mhm.
being here, we're all
Right.
sharing this love for Hollis, this love for Queens,
Yes.
the love
Yes.
for New York City. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And
Because
I go ahead. Sorry.
no, I just think
Because
there are so many forces now that's eroding that. It's scary, but we should still
mhm.
try to hold on. Yeah,
Yeah, what I see part of the erosion is to try to eliminate foundation or foundational existences. As I tell my kids, foundation is always important. You should never negate it. The foundation is what is meant to know it, learn it, understand it, and you build from it. That's
there you
how we
go.
innovate. But the foundation is still substantial. It's like the foundation of the house. You lay
Absolutely,
the foundation and you build whatever you desire, whatever you are creative in your mind, and you build from that. But if you tamper with the foundation, the building crumbles.
absolutely. Oh wow, that's
So
beautiful.
listen, foundation is important.
It's
I'm done.
important, and for the
Thank you
future.
for yeah, thank you. Mad Hatter, you got something more to say? This
Yes.
is interesting.
What more
Go
can you
ahead.
add about the Ketchum girls, considering that was probably a time when women didn't have too many rights and everything?
Well, my understanding. Well, let me back up a little bit. When Ketchum first came here, his daughter died at 16. And by the way, all the family members are buried at Springfield Cemetery right over here in Queens. They're all there. Um, Now, when his son married, his wife became uh, no, the grandson. By the time the when the son married, his wife, did her civic duty. But when the and I should also say that all wives at that time would be in their clubs. They would do philanthropic things. They were all there. If you look in the newspaper, you'll see that the women were playing their part. But when the grandson got married, he got married into the Lot family, which is also a large and prominent family. His wife also worked really hard to promote the health system. She was very active, very, very active, in everything. So there's very little about the original David Ketchum's wife in the newspaper. One of the few things I found is that I'm looking at the staircase right here, right now, that she fell down that staircase and broke her collarbone. So that's one of the few things that was in the newspaper. But I will only assume, well, because like I said, David Ketchum outlived his wife, his oldest son, one of his grandsons, and his daughter. In the end, it was just David Ketchum Senior and David Ketchum Jr. together. But you could see that the women were active. You could see that they were active in their communities, helping in the way I guess women could in that time period. Yeah.
Another question: how much of the house is original?
Okay, so The house was renovated in in the early 1920s. I would like to say about 1923 because it was up for sale in 1923, and by 1924 the original Gibson girl had moved in, so it would have been renovated. So what they did at the time was there was a turret. I forget what that's called right now. I'm sorry. It's like a maiden walk on the house. And they removed that, but the structure of it is still inside the house. So I can go upstairs and see the original structure on the interior. What they did in when they did it was to upgrade the house. I've been told by historians that they upgraded the house to make it the thing of the time, the most outstanding thing of the time. The house is actually written up in the New York Guide to Architecture. It's actually written up in there because of the original facade. If you look at the picture of the house, the original facade that you see is the original. On one side of the house, they added what I'm going to think is maid's quarters, because the ceilings are slightly lower and the rooms are smaller. But if you go through the house, you can see the original thing. We have original stained glass here. All the doorknobs in this house are glass. Every single doorknob is made of glass and chrome. We have here a sliding door. I would show you, but right now, maybe it's not the best view, but there's the sliding wooden door, all of that. The windows, some of the windows have the original ballast,
with the rope.
Yeah, but the thing hanging, yes. I mean, I broke my finger because of that, because it came slamming down. So there are lots of this. The roof still has some of the metal ceiling, sorry. So there's just still a lot. And here you can see our fireplaces. There are four of them. There are three. Well, there were four, but one was turned into a stove, a wood burning stove, which is no longer there. But the little details are still here. We have tiles. We have hardwood floors, the original hardwood floors. We have some windows that are very original. Of course, some things, Hollis went through its sad time in the 80s and 90s. And so the owners at that time had to make themselves safe, So some of the doors, we have 5 entrances, and they put metal doors. You had to make yourself safe. It just was not conducive to just you have to be safe first and foremost. So yeah, but there are so many details still here. I'm looking at the staircase that this lady fell down, this beautiful balustrade right now. So yeah, it has, and the basement has all that foundational stuff. And I will say a lot of the houses right here in Hollis have their original fireplaces. There are amazing houses around here. And it's such a shame that they're at risk of being torn down and all that history being taken away, And I will point out too, the original Gibson girl married a developer. She married what they would call in those days a builder. And he built a lot of his name was okay, I'm gonna miss the first name right now because something else is in my head, but his last name was Flores. He was from Argentina originally. He was a model originally, but he turned into a builder. And he actually there's a house right across from us, and he built that house. A big, beautiful house. They still use the working fireplaces there and everything. But he built a lot of amazing houses in Jamaica Estates, Douglaston. He was so there's just so much that I come from a country where when we came to America, all our history was left behind. We came pretty much with what we had. And it's so amazing to me to land in such a place where I get to embrace history. My history is gone. I'm digging it up slowly but surely. I'm digging it up, but in Jamaica, because there is a lineage there that I've tapped into. But I will also say that one of the things I enjoy doing historically is looking at people's genealogy. So I've done that for various people in the neighborhood. which has been exciting. There's some people who um, don't know their father or don't know their father's heritage, and I've had occasion where I could find just from a little bit of information, like he was in the military. In one instance, I was able to not only find his grave site and so on, but I was able to trace his history from New York to Jamaica, unbelievably, through Jamaica to Scotland. So it's just fascinating. It's fascinating. And I feel that when we know our history, we get strength. You know, when we're just floating around and we're not anchored, like Marcus Garvey said, you know, it makes our life more challenging. So I think it's critical and important. And I've I've been excited by the finds that I've had in the newspaper and some interesting stories, and to share it with the people, and so that they could learn their history, and just to see the happiness when they discover things. You know, we have a neighbor right here in the neighborhood. He's been here since the 19th, since he was a teenager. He's retired now, and he didn't know who his father was, and I was able to not only find his father, but where his father died, his gravesite, his history, and stories in the newspaper. A lot of stories about his family in the newspaper, and that's exciting. It's heartwarming. It's heartwarming. I'm sorry, it might make me teary because I'm old and emotional, so forgive me. But it's just nice to be able to help someone else appreciate their past. You know, because
Yes,
it
that's
anchors us.
amazing.
Anchors us. Yeah.
And we see you, Hope. We do see you. She said her grandbaby was 25 ounces, and that's where she got that name from. Shouts out to Philly.
Oh, wow. I'm so
Yes. And
glad.
she said, great show, everyone. Thank you. And we
Thank
thank
you.
you for viewing. All the
Thank you
viewers,
for
make sure
being
you
here.
like and subscribe, everybody. I didn't mean to cut you off, Miss Ashley.
Oh, no problem at all.
You got any more
Mister, you want to
questions?
take it from here?
Yeah, I can take it from here, brother. All right, we're gonna lighten it up. I'm gonna give you some unconventional questions.
Oh, I'm
So
afraid now.
no, 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 no. We're gonna lighten the mood a little bit.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Wow. Does it have to be a person of prominence?
No.
Because, okay, because I would love to meet my mother's mother.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now
I
tell us
would
why.
love to have met my mother's mother because I feel like this was a woman who had many challenges,
Yes,
and she made it through, and she created my amazing mother, my amazing auntie. And
yes,
I wanted to know where she got that strength from. This was a woman of mixed heritage and did not know half of her heritage. Um, Grown up in where my mother comes from is what I would like to call the deep woods of Jamaica. There's so many Jamaicans who never would go to that part of Jamaica. It's like deep, deep, deep wood, like deep
yes.
West Virginia, deep Appalachia. And she raised my mom and my auntie without the help of their father, and she raised them well. And she lost her hearing. Imagine, because she was trying to work so hard to work for her children. She was a fair-skinned woman and got sunstroke.
Yes. Oh
And in
wow.
the sunstroke, she lost her hearing.
Okay.
And she was a woman that was came up in poverty. She didn't have shoes. She would tie her feet with cloth
Look at that.
and still manage to buy at least one pair of shoes for her children. So, but just a
The re-
strong woman.
a resilient woman. Yes.
I wanted to ask her how she did it, and I just wanted to hug her and say thank you for giving me the gift of my mother, because my mother
Yes,
was
ma'am.
très amazing, très amazing.
Wow. Listen to that. Sound like you come from very strong lineages of powerful women. Being a
I
powerful woman
really do.
yourself. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
I believe that. I believe that the women, what do the estrogen strength is very strong. Estrogen is
uh,
strong. Yeah.
yes. What is one historical misconception that you wish people would understand?
Well, even going back to the concept of community or where you come from.
Yes.
Um, do we have to be so divided? We are all flesh and blood.
Right.
And where we stand today is because of someone else's fight. I was just I put it in one of my videos, something that Barack Obama says, that the most important office in democracy is the citizen, is the person.
Right.
And I would also say that the people who fought to give us our liberty,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what color they are, because at the end of the day, it was not only people of color who fought.
Yes.
Everybody fought. And
Everyone
I
fought.
think historically people would remember that it wasn't the color of the skin that divided people, it was the ideology of the people. And we should cherish those people who fought for our liberties. And I
Yes.
think that's important. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's
Mhm.
important.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Can I interject something with what she just said? It made me straight think of I had one of my dear cousins, first cousin, my father's side. Her first name is Stephanie. And when we had debates about colonization, and when the time came, recent now, they want to remove the statues of this one and that one because they were slave owners. My cousin said if it wasn't for Abraham Lincoln, I wouldn't be Stephanie in her last name. I said, what? I said, what? But it's the same lineup of what you just said.
Because
All
we don't.
have all have erred, but you have to understand what it has given us.
Yes.
Even
Because
through the
not only
hard,
people of color lost their life in the fight, not only people of color lost their life
exactly,
in the fight.
exactly.
And even going forward, like I said, this community is changing. When I first came to America, we were in Richmond Hill, and I found out I went to school with John Gotti's people, and we would keep our doors wide open. And I thought, wow, America is a very safe place. Like midnight, our doors open. Come to realize we were protected, you know? And the point is that neighbors and neighborhoods and communities are, there shouldn't be division based on the trivial things. I think those things are trivial. I think the people who live together, love together, build together, that's the important thing. And we wouldn't be here if certain people didn't stand up and say, we're going to fight for people of color. And it wasn't only just people of color, because I think if only people of color attempted that, it wouldn't have worked. It would have had to have been a community of people. And even women's rights too, would have had to be a community of people.
Yes, ma'am. Man, Heather, you got a statement?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you try to erase history or cancel it out, aren't you just trying to cover it up like it never happened?
That's true. That's true. And how do you do that? Because you come from it. You know what I mean? Like you're also destroying a part of yourself, because you are from, I mean, we didn't just appear, and there are things to be learned from history. Let's not forget that part. There are things to be learned, and it's so critical that we honor that. Some people, it's almost like I mean, this is probably a really weird analogy, but some people walk by a garden and they see it's beautiful, and they go to the plant store and they buy a whole lot of stuff and they make their gardens. And I've seen those gardens fail, because the bottom line is, sometimes, like here in this yard, a lot of the flowers we have came here on their own.
Yes.
And it was just the right soil and the right everything, and they grew and are amazing. Sometimes you need to wait for things to happen. You need to have time is important. If you just want it quick and easy, let's erase the past and let's do today, and today's the present. Well, listen, 5 minutes ago is past already. Are you going to erase that too? So it's all very important. And maybe because I grew up not knowing my history, you know.
Yes.
Maybe this is why I'm so grateful when I learned. By the time my parents met each other, they were teenagers. My parents were together for 72 years until my mom passed away. 72 years.
That's amazing.
And incredible when you consider how very different they were. But it worked, and they gave us a good, hearty, happy, close knit family. Now, what people do with that when they grow up is a different story. But I grew up in warmth and happiness. Yes. And um, I didn't know my past. My father didn't know his past. My mother didn't know her past. And then suddenly a cousin told me something. A cousin told me that your father, my cousin, had 15 aunts and uncles. Do you know the world that opened up for me? So, I think and just learning, even on a very important level, like your past, you need to know your medical history, and that comes from it.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? So there is so much to be learned from the past, and we should not try to be this quick fix. If you see a beautiful garden, I guarantee you it took time. If you see a celebrity like Michael Jackson, I guarantee you it took time.
Yes.
There is no quick fix in the important, beautiful things in life. There's no quick fix. So if you want to just blindly erase history like the developers, I was speaking to a cousin shortly before I came to the podcast, and she was telling me she went looking for an apartment, and she went into one of the new builds, and she was shocked, shoddy. She lived in Brooklyn so many years in huge. Some of the rooms she was in, I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. And she's like, these are tiny rooms. It's not the quality.
Yes.
So do we want to erase quality for what? Because in a few years from now, what's built now is going to be the past, but it's not going to be of quality.
Yes.
Each home back then was specially built. Nowadays, they're all manufactured. They're all predisposed blueprints. It's just some guy with a blueprint. They're not designing each one specially anymore like back in the day.
No, man.
And are we going to give future generations a chance to, one of the questions I asked, I don't know if you're aware of something called the City of Yes. They have wiped out zoning in New York City, and I think people need to Google that and learn about it and realize what has happened to us. And I wonder, it wiped out zoning, so there's no 1 and 2 family zoning anymore. They could put up 5 stories houses now. But I wonder, will the children of the future have an opportunity to live in a neighborhood like Hollis? You're wiping out future opportunities. Right. People need choices. That's a part of our humanity. The animals don't have the ability to make choices. They have instincts. Okay, we have some smart cats around here, so I know some of them are. But this is what makes us human. We could make choices. When you wipe out the opportunity to make a choice, if everything is just going to be huge skyscrapers, somebody in the future won't be able to say, I want my white picket fence and my little house. Yes. So,
They won't even know what it is.
There you go.
Right. You want to read that comment, man, Heather?
Thank you so very much, Marie. You are great inspirational to all.
Hi, Alfredi. That's my neighbor. Hi. You're a tremendous inspiration yourself, honestly.
Yes, we see you, Alfredi. We appreciate you watching. Continue to like and subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Art for Change is where it's at. And we got Miss Ashley and Marie Ashley in the building today. So I got another, speaking on all this history that we're speaking on. If you could travel to any time in history, where would you go and what would you do?
I would go to Victorian times.
Oh, wow.
As a person of color. To find out. Because it's a scary time, isn't it? It's a scary time because inventions are coming in and people are, I'm just curious actually, because when you go into history books, no one really, okay. I come from a family of people who like to travel. My sister has been all over the world. My
Yes.
mother went all over the world. My father, they love to travel. And I did a little bit. But the thing, I figure I could see it. I could watch the videos, but I
Yes.
can't smell it. I can't touch
Mm.
it. And I think I would love to go, but there's so look, what is that series that Shonda?
Bridgerton.
Yes. I'm like,
Yes.
I wish I could go back and see it and smell it and
The hotel they film and everything is in my home state,
oh,
Wait,
where
what's
is
the
that?
name of the series?
Bridgerton
Bridgerton.
in Rhode
Oh,
Island.
Bridgerton. Okay.
They,
Bridgerton.
it's
Okay.
supposed to take place at they film it at the mansions in Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Nice, nice.
That is cool. But that's where I'd like to
It's
go.
supposed to
And
take place in there and everything. Yeah, that's where it's supposed to take place. It's all modeled. It's all modeled after the mansions in Newport.
wow. That is
Yeah.
amazing. I think she did an amazing job, because we don't really know. History is portrayed to us by the person who wrote the history book. We don't really
Right.
know. I want to go back
Right.
and really know.
Right. They call it his story, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where I'd go.
I like that you said I need to smell it. I like that.
Oh yeah. This is,
Yeah.
it's really funny. I don't know how it is now because Jamaica has been upgraded. I don't know if you want to call it upgraded, but it's been I don't know, changed. It's changing like everywhere in the world. And one of the things I really loved to do back in the day, if America was getting me down, I'd get on an airplane and I had the liberty to do that kind of thing. Um, and there was nothing so pleasing as getting off the airplane and smelling the mix of burning wood and sea breezes. There was just a smell that just, ooh. And
Yes.
a few years ago, I forget where we were. I think we went to the aquarium with some of our children, and they did some panoramic thing where they had the smells. You were in New Zealand, or you were, and I think that is such an integral part of us. I was a speech and language pathologist, and I know how much the senses play into our memory and our records.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what's missing. I watch the videos and I'm like, couldn't you just bottle the smell and ship it to me so I can smell it when I watch the video?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
be a part of it, be immersed in it. I love historical novels. I love historical things. It's just, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe because, like I said, my history was lacking. We go after what we lacked. But
Yes.
there is just so much you can learn. There's nothing newly invented about humankind. There's nothing about, you look in the old newspapers, people are murdering and raping and pillaging. It's not new.
Yeah.
Um, so I just want to get some of the wisdom, what those people learned from, their times. So it's fascinating to me.
I like that. I like that. Speaking on history, if you could turn any historical event into a movie, what would you choose, and who would you cast?
Okay, so let's go back to the Ketchum house.
Yes.
I
Yes.
spent a lot of time reading about all the families in this area. I read about, like I said, Mrs. Ketchum fell down the stairs.
Yes.
There were when David Ketchum got very old, the neighbors came and harvested for him. You have people who were poor being found in the stable sleeping. You know, I would love really to do something about this neighborhood, the history,
Yes.
like a Bridgerton, but it's going to be
Yes.
Holliston. You know what I mean? Just
Yes.
do something
Yes.
about what. So, Hollis, when I first came here, before I moved here, before I literally moved into the house, before my mom left, about a year before, I started coming to the block association meetings. Don't ask me why. I wanted to know the community first.
Yes.
And just being able to appreciate what the community is and how it is. I felt like when I started to research, all I heard about was hip hop, and I didn't know what came before.
Yes.
And something just went off here, but something had to have come before, and it was
Yes.
hard to find that, but I found it. But now that I found it, why not tell that story all the way up through hip hop?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I just feel like that's what I would love to replay. Like people really know, like the people who lived there in the 50s and 60s. Cuomo was here, Art Buchwald,
Yeah, yeah.
Colin Powell was here. I want to know what it was like and maybe replay that for the world to see.
Let me just interject because I saw your lights flicker. Mine had already flickered, and they flickered when yours
Oh,
flickered.
okay.
Con Edison did give us a warning today of because of the heat and whatever. So, audience, if we get powered out, that's what it is.
I thought it was me, but okay.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
you know that you comment that City of Yes is attempting to build, I don't know, 200, I don't know, million new residents. What's going to happen to our electrical grid with all these new buildings?
Mm-hmm.
Is our infrastructure going to be able to make? Look, we're having brownouts. How is it going to work? I'm curious. Yeah,
Exactly. And those things also tie into what many people are upset about what our president is doing as far as if you're not legal here, you got to go, because all of that plays a part into all of these things.
yeah. Just a lot going on. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wanted to point out too, I was saying to Lady Alba that hummingbird is Jamaica's national bird.
Yes.
Oh,
And
that's dope.
yeah, and to
Isn't it?
this is integral to who you are. It's just fascinating.
That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we see the staircase?
Well, there's some movements going on here. So my niece, my cousin's things are all piled around the place. But let me see if I can do this without without embarrassing life. Okay, here we go.
That's okay.
Because we just moved all the things.
We live in our homes.
Okay, here is
and she's an animal lover. With
hold on,
wow,
let me see if
okay.
can you see it?
Yeah,
Yes.
look at the post.
You see it?
Look at that post.
And look at the ceiling. I don't know if you can see the ceiling. You can't see the ceiling.
Yeah.
The ceiling has that original metal stamp thing. But here, I don't know.
Wow.
Can you see it at all?
Yes, we
ma'am.
can see
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that post. That looks
Let
like
me show
cherry
you.
wood.
I wish the light was on.
It looks.
I can
Yeah,
show
the
you
post.
the stained glass.
The
Can you see
post
the
looks
stained
like
glass?
cherry wood.
Can you see the stained glass up there?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes. And you know that's old when you have the window up top and the two little on the side. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So this is home.
Yes.
This was. Let me see if I can show you the door here. Okay, hold on. Let's see. This is. Oh, okay. Let me see if I that box is in the way. This is the door I was telling you about. See?
Oh,
Oh
wow,
yes,
that's nice.
yes, and that's original.
And you see, all the doorknobs are glass. Let me see if I can. Every single doorknob in the house is made of glass.
Look at that.
Wow,
Look at
that's
that.
pretty.
Wow.
Real glass.
Yes.
So some of them I cleaned off the chrome, but this one I didn't. So
Yes, that's
nice.
Original to the house there. I would have to go upstairs to show you some of the other things, but yeah. Sorry, that's my old. I make my garlands for Christmas. That's been there.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I make the garlands for Christmas. So. From the
what kind of tree? Oh, do you have a lot of trees on the?
Yes, there are a lot of trees here. A lot of trees. So our yard is green all year, which I love.
Nice.
I put all these pine trees here.
Oh wow! Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
If you have an opportunity, you can They will build more power station. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they will build more power substations in poor neighborhoods. Hope
Right
so.
now, right now they're putting lithium factories all over the place, and people are protesting that. They have one right across the street from a school. Can you imagine?
Oh
And right
wow.
Mm,
behind it is a pet animal, animal hospital. And
mhm.
this is a problem because they're showing up in all the outer boroughs. It's not cool. It's not good.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not good.
Miss Marie, who would you say is your biggest influence or mentor in your journey as a historian?
Again, I will go back to Eugene Armbruster only because there are many historians that are very famous. When you mention his name, a lot of people don't know who he is.
Right.
But in his time, he was that go-to person that knew everything about like the history of the places in Long Island, in particularly in Brooklyn and Queens. And I just like the dedication and the service that he provided. And I was very influenced by him. I did a little research on him, and I just liked the way he dealt with things. So. Mhm.
Mm.
So that would be my person. Remember his name, Eugene
Yeah.
Armbruster,
Eugene
because a lot of
Armbruster.
yes, yeah,
Yes, I'm gonna do my homework about Mr. Eugene because I was
Mhm.
today years old when I found out about him. Yes,
yes.
I love it. I love all the knowledge that I'm getting today. I didn't know nothing about the Ketchum House before Lady Alva brought you to our attention. So I'm definitely appreciating all the knowledge that you are giving. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
And I too, I didn't know anything about it until I saw her post on Next Door, which intrigued me. What? Really? And I'm learning a lot more than what we heard myself and Marie have discussed behind the scenes of her being a guest on our podcast. So it's
Mhm.
amazing to me. I'm like, woo, yeah.
and just just fascinated by the fact that it it's still here. Nobody knows about it, kind of hidden,
Hmm.
and it's still
Yes.
here. And the funny thing is, his son's house is still here, and it's almost like I'll tell you one strange story that happened. I had a lady living here for just about a couple of weeks, and I did not know what Mr. Ketchum looks like.
Yes.
One day, a historian, hi, Carl Ballenas. Carl Ballenas is a well known historian. And he called me one day and he sent me a picture. He found the picture of David Ketchum. So
Oh wow.
during this time, this lady was living here and she came to me one day and she said, Marie, I had a dream. This man came to me and he was telling me, like, all these things. She described the picture.
Oh wow.
He described the picture.
That's amazing.
I
Yeah.
was shocked. I
Yes.
was shocked. So that's an unusual thing. I've never felt anything in this house, but in my previous house where I lived, my sister and I had a house together in Rosedale. That was a crazy house. And I found out that there were two sisters and they both died in the house. So I got that. I don't know if people believe in these things, but people have come to this house and said they felt things, saw things. My nieces and nephews who grew up here
Mm.
say that I've never had any. But when this lady said that to me, was the first like waking me up. Whoa, that's
Yeah.
interesting. She
Yes.
described the picture.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That
It's awesomely amazing. It's like there's a mark on you
you
to
think?
do the work in what you're doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm trying.
Somewhere or another, unbeknownst to you, yourself, unbeknownst to anybody, you are purposed to do what you're doing concerning this land, concerning
I
this property.
I guess
That's
I play a
amazing.
role. I'll play a role. I'm
Yeah.
just happy to be able to. to bring it. And it all started because my older elder sister, who passed away a couple of years ago, um, passed away during this period, actually, just a few days after Father's Day. Um, we just, she was already living here, and I'm about to move here, and I'm like, let's go find out. And we just, and there's a picture, and
Wow.
that was the beginning. Eugene Armbruster's picture, and that was it. And it just like, wow, this is not just a house. This is a house.
Right. Over
Mm-hmm.
200 years of of history.
Imagine.
You
And the funniest thing is, he bought it from a Henderson, and Mr. Henderson, he was a store owner. Yes,
Yes.
he would import. What do you call this thing that the bats make? The feces of the bat. He imported that from the Caribbean.
Guano.
Oh wow.
Wild
What is it?
Guano.
happening back in those days. Yeah.
Guano.
Say
Guano.
guano.
Yes. Yes. So
Yes.
that's what he was importing for the farmers. So that was, I was like,
Wow.
wow, how cool is that?
Wow.
So there's just so much that we can learn from the past, and we can definitely apply it to our future. Um, but if we wipe it out, there's nothing to learn from. So that's it's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would just make an appeal to anyone who's watching, or anyone um, who can, let's say, even the people who are invested in the hip hop history of Hollis, to
Say
look
it.
look beyond, and let's save all our history, not just in Hollis. Southeastern Queens is gravely underserved.
Yes.
There's so much history here,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
if it just gets wiped out, what can the future children anchor themselves on? What do they have? One of
Yes.
this house, I've had students come to immerse themselves in English. They come to learn English, and by students I mean businessmen. These were, I guess, because of the caliber of the house, the agency sent a certain type of student here. I've had people in prominent positions from Russia, from Japan, from France, come here. And they would come here. The exterior of the house was fixed up. It was, the original shingles are still underneath
Yes.
the pretty shingles. And
Yes.
the people who came here they were just in love. They were in love with the antiquity of it. The fellow from he owned a restaurant down the road from the Louvre, and he was like, no, I'm not going to go somewhere to buy water. I'm going to your corner store. I'm going to patronize your corner store. I'm going to patronize your neighborhood. It's like a different mentality.
Yes.
They just loved
Yes.
the house. They loved the neighborhood. They were like, you need to keep everything here in-house. Let's go to Walmart to get a whole crate of water. I'm going to
Yes.
spend my money at your corner store and help them. And he did
Yes.
that. And it's just a whole different mindset. I wish that we can embrace that, and recognize how lucky we are to have the history we have. Whether it's
Yes.
a harsh history, or it is history.
Yes.
And
We here, Art for Change, embrace that for sure.
yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for embracing it, because I appreciate this opportunity to speak my piece,
Yes,
My
ma'am.
my hope is, Mad Hatter, Mister, you tell me. My hope is that Art for Change can come and to that property. That's what I've envisioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
Come and have a visit to that property.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You can. People, if you would like to see the Ketchum House standing, we created a GoFundMe, because we are legally fighting to try. And we've also, if you can reach out to Landmarks Preservation, we can get you that information, who you can contact, and tell them we like to see this house stand. We
Yes.
need to keep
Yes,
this
yes.
history here for future children. We need to anchor the children who are born today, that they can come back and say, oh, this is where
Mhm.
we're from. You
Yes.
know, please reach out to Landmarks Preservation. Help us. We need funding to fight the battle ahead.
Tell them where to find your GoFundMe. Tell them where they can help.
Uh, I it's a link with a number, so I'm not sure. I could let me get the number and
No
let's
problem. We got
number.
number time. Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that the message get out to as many listeners as possible.
Okay. Is
Yes.
there a place I can write it?
Yes, ma'am. You could
Okay.
write it in the comment
Chat.
section, and it'll pop up. Or if you write it in the private chat, then I can
Oh,
convert it over, whichever. Yes, ma'am.
okay. Okay.
And we can put it on the screen. And while you doing that, I will read some of our comments from our viewers because we have a few. Um, Hope 25 ounces said power substation causes cancer because of electromagnetic waves. She is absolutely right. Dawn said, great job, Don Ingram. We appreciate you watching over there on Facebook. We see you. Also, she said she would love, Hope also said she would love that marble fireplace you got behind you. And we got a lot of viewers on Instagram. We see everybody on Instagram checking it in, tuning in with us. We see you over there. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend to join in to Art for Change. With right
That
now we
might
have
be a nice marble fireplace, but there's no way you're using it.
a
There's no way you're using it.
Why is that, Mad Hatter?
It's too old and everything. And no, no, I ain't letting anybody mess up the fire.
The
No,
marble.
yeah,
No smoke.
no
Stain
smoke,
marble.
no nothing up the chimney or nothing. Nope.
Ah. See, me, I would be like, we gotta use it. Whatever we gotta do, get that chimney repaired, cleaned it out, and let's go. Yeah, I love a fireplace. My grandmother's house in Queens Village. A lot of the houses in Queens Village and Queens have fireplaces. I would say the majority of them, if they don't anymore, because they took them, the whatever homeowner took them away. But my grandmother, it was one in the living room and then in the basement too, and it was brick facing. Yep, fireplace. Yep, and we use the one in the living room. We have she used to use the one in the basement, but then not as often. And but the one in the living room, yeah. And then she got my grandmother's southerner from South Carolina got the cast iron wood burning stove with the chute that went up the fire. Yeah, in the living room. Mm, yeah.
Miss
Yes.
Miss Marie, Miss Marie,
Yes.
what advice would you give to a young historian looking to make a change in their community?
Mm,
Rise to the challenge. Um, there are many resources out there. There are many organizations out there. If you are interested, you know, just go move forward. We have ancestry.com that's introducing the world to a search for your own history.
Yes,
That might be a place to start. Because when you start there, you might find yourself now looking into newspaper articles, because ancestry just generate that for you. So it
yes,
could jumpstart you. It could spark a fire. I mean, if you start there. Start with the family history, and get your feet wet. And there's
get your
lots
feet
of
wet. Yeah.
resources you know, you can use. And pardon me, I think I made a mistake before, because I was wondering why there were so many audio streams going, but I must have opened the wrong thing. But there you go. Yeah. But that's the advice. Maybe starting with your own personal, history might
Yes,
be a
ma'am.
way to get you to for you to build some confidence and some steam. Yeah. But,
Yes,
but
yes.
definitely there is need. There is need for, there's so many professions that are falling by the wayside because people don't think they're necessary. But they are. We need people to keep the history alive.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And so we ask every guest that come on the show, being that this is art for change. When you hear that phrase, art for change, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
Art for change. Let's go back to things that are falling to the wayside again. Art. Certain things are not being promoted in schools anymore, you know? It is so important that creativity be promoted. And that, um, that if this could be a medium that can promote change, positive change, and positivity. I mean, that's what comes to my mind when you say art for change.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's
That's
no wrong answer. Yes, ma'am. Ain't no wrong answer. I love it. Now, the people that may want to get in touch with you and have what you're doing, where can they get in touch with you at? Where, what social medias? What are your ways of contact? Emails, if you want to give it out to the listeners.
sure. Well, if you want to, if you want to engage through YouTube, you could go to Marie at the Ketchum House. That's my YouTube channel. There is a website where you can contact me at. It's called theketchamhouse.org. Okay, just all together, the Ketcham, Ketcham house.org. And you could also, my email is, it's Marie dot at dot the dot Ketchum dot house at Gmail. Simple.
Yes, very simple. I love it.
Wait,
Yes,
say the email again, please.
I'm sorry. It's Marie, just Marie at the Ketchum House with dots between the words at
yes,
gmail.com.
at
Mm-hmm.
gmail.com. And this will be up and we record all our shows. So anybody that did miss the live show will catch this on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, and they can also catch the audio version of this if they want to listen to the beginning of the show. If you call us in the middle, we on any streaming platform where you can find a podcast, you can find Art for Change. Absolutely.
Great. I will definitely point people in this direction. I'm so excited and so pleased that you have invited me um,
Yes, ma'am.
to
It's been a
share.
pleasure to have you.
And I've had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know,
Marie,
See,
I'm so pleased that I partook in your post to say, "Oh, that might be a good guess." Well, no, not might. I think that's a good
mhm.
guest for Art for Change, and I've gotten more than what I thought. And I really don't give thought into what I would get or expectations,
Mhm.
but the cup is full and it was great. I thank you for
Thank you.
being here. Hmm.
Something just moved around. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure. You got a closing statement for the people before we get you out of here, Miss Marie?
Well, the only thing I can say, guys, promote history. Um, Google City for Yes and find out what you want to do about it because
Yes.
that's gonna turn your world upside down. It is in the process of turning the
Yeah.
world upside. And please help me save the Ketchum House. Help
Yes.
me save this. You know, one of the things I hope for this community, we don't have a green space to meet up. You know, we don't have a green space right here in Hollis where we can meet up. This is a tremendous lawn, a tremendous yard. Could be a great place for the community to come and meet up, a meeting
I love
space,
it.
a
I love
community
it.
hall.
Hmm.
This could be a place, there's such a thing as a family resource center. And this is sponsored by the Mormons. You know, they went all around the world and they collect. The Mormons believe that what is it called? What's the proper name? But the Mormons somehow it's
Hmm.
they believe that if you're saved, you can save your ancestors. So for
Oh,
that reason, they've
yeah.
gone all around the world and documented. They made arrangements with different countries that they would digitalize their records. And so
Mm,
now this is available online, but not all the records are available online. Only some of them
right.
you can get at the Family Research Center. And we could have one here. There's the closest one to here is in Flushing. we could have one here that would serve
Mhm.
southeastern Queens. There's just so many things. I have saved electronics. I've saved the first black and white TV we had in America with the big cathode tube, and it still works.
Yes.
And the
That's
rotary
awesome.
phones and the computer that's run that in the beginning computer, the home computer was on a cassette tape.
Yeah.
I have all of
Mhm.
those things that I've saved, and I would love for this place to be a place where children can come, people can come and have hands-on experience with things of the past. So
Yes.
please help us save
Yeah.
the Ketchum House.
Turn the
Yeah.
Ketchum
Do
House
you
into a
need?
museum. Would you? Would you?
I
Would
would
you? Would you?
love, yes, I would love to
Yeah.
make it
Mhm.
like a electronic museum,
An
particularly
electronic
too.
museum. That's
Yeah.
nice.
And
Yes.
do you have a petition going on, or do you need signatures or something like that from the
There
community?
is there was one a long time ago, but we kind of
Mm.
stopped. But I could get that to you.
We can regenerate it. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
But what I think about is, what about a community garden? Lady
Exactly.
Alba will be the first to show up, or
That's
one
that's that's another
of the
thing
first to
too.
show up to start
Come,
it.
that's another thing too, because in this neighborhood, a
Yeah.
lot of the people are proud of their gardens, and some people now are renting and don't have a garden. And
Yes.
so
Right.
this is how I met
Yeah.
some of the neighbors in the neighborhood. I was like, "Do you want a little spot? Because I could be gardening. Do you
Yeah.
want a little spot?"
Yeah.
And I think definitely this is something.
Yeah. I did a garden when I before here, moving here to Jamaica, Queens, I was in the Bronx for a
Mhm.
good few years or more, actually, more than a few. But the last apartment I lived in, I did a garden over COVID. Me and it's a house. I was the second floor, the tenant downstairs, a lady and her son, and together, yeah, we did a garden, and I found it quite therapeutic, fun, and I had my vegetables. I had greens, collard greens, string beans.
And
Yeah,
you know what you
it
put
was
in the
lovely.
earth, and you know what you didn't
Exactly.
put pesticides. You didn't put all kinds of
Exactly.
things on it. It was organic.
Exactly. Today it might be some asparagus growing because I planted that. But
Wow.
asparagus takes a length of time to start to grow. So I might be there if they didn't trample on it.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I will say that I was in touch with a lady who also in Queens started gardening, community gardens, and
Hmm.
I was in touch with her last year, um, before certain things happened here, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll come and help you
Yeah.
jumpstart something." Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I
awesome.
would love to because even because I've had this idea and I've solicited it in the Bronx when I lived there, and even with the pantries, and for our children
Yeah.
to know what a vegetable tastes like raw,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because there's so many children out here on our land that are literally starving, and you
Yeah.
know what? Get that tomato, bite into it. It's delicious.
Right.
I eat them like
you know,
apples.
huh?
I
Yeah. You and me.
Exactly.
You and me both, man. Had it with some salt.
yes,
They're
with
supposed to
salt,
be
You got
fruits.
salt
a
in
little
one
sprinkle,
hand,
a little
tomato in
salt.
the other, like apple, like
Yes,
apple.
sir.
Exactly.
But they're
Exactly.
fruits, right? Tomatoes are fruits, not
They are.
vegetables.
They
Yeah,
are. They
fruits.
are. They are. Yes. It is a fruit.
Yes. That. Yes. There's a lot of controversy behind that tomato being a fruit and a veggie.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yes. Well, Lady Marie, it's been a pleasure to have you, Miss Marie Ashley, and telling
Thank
us about this Ketchum House. And we love what you are doing, and we're going to support definitely. And we hope that you get to preserve this home because it sounds like it has an amazing history behind it.
Mm.
And we love that you was able to share it with us today. Absolutely.
thank you so much, and
Yes.
thank you
Yes.
so much for having me.
Yes.
I really
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
it.
Oh man,
Hmm.
it's been a pleasure. You can come back anytime, anytime you have any event or anything that you want to come to the show and share to the world about anything you have going on, not just the Ketchum House. We would love to you to come back and share with us. Yes, ma'am.
Great. One of my ideas
Yes.
that I have for community was that we need to come back together as communities. And
Yes.
so
Hmm.
I think 2 years ago I did a what we call a meet and greet, just just come. In the past, I used to have. I know I'm opening up new doors here, but in the past, I used to open up this space here every Thursday. I put some biscuits and some tea and some coffee.
Look
Just
at
walk
that.
on in, neighbors. Walk on
Nice.
and meet your neighbors. And we did that for a while. And but I would love to see our neighbors come back together in
Yes.
communities.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's not just up there. I think that should just unite it, especially with the times and the things that's going on in the world. I would love to see America come together and unite as Americans and not just orange, black, green, blue, whatever color we want to
Exactly.
attach ourselves to. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
big
Thank you
big
all.
on
Thank
socialism.
you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, we ain't gonna hold you, love. You can come back anytime, but thank you for being with us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Blessings.
Okay.
Yes,
Bye
ma'am.
Yes.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Oh man, that was a pleasure.
Ooh, it was such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
And we got a
You
lot
know,
of viewers tonight checking in with us. We
yeah.
appreciate people that was just checking in for the historian, Miss Marie, Ashley, and people who just
Mhm.
wanted to come and check Art for Change out to see what we got cooking over here. Every day on Mondays, on Thursdays, on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern time live. You can catch us, and we on different topics, different discussions, and we always got fun things going on. We got a lot of interviews coming on this month, next month, so
Mhm.
you might want to hit that like and that bell and subscribe and tell a friend and tell a friend because you might don't want to miss this right here. I don't know no
That's
other
right.
podcast that go live 3 times a week, no script, and we keeping you informative, keeping you positive, and it's funky on this channel, man. It's love over here. Yeah, what y'all got for the people? What you got for the people, man? Adam?
Always remember the times for chill hangs and general education.
Yes,
And
sir.
what's
Yes,
that?
sir. And yes, ma'am. That's our acronym for Art for Change, baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Lady Albert, you got something for the people before we close out?
Yeah, first, people, I got this. It's such a pleasure when you have a guest and you book a guest and you get more than what you even thought of. I hope you
Yes.
guys enjoyed it. And I say, too, hit that bell so you can keep your eye and your ear on what's happening with Art for Change. Because we
Yes,
are
ma'am.
what's happening.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you for
Hey,
joining
until
us.
yes, and thank you. Until next time, man. It's been real. Art through this and change makers. Hey, if you're looking for a place to be to showcase your art, and you have any type of talent in the form of art, and you want to be or to help build your brand and showcase your talent, Art for Change is the platform for you. You got an album out, you got a song out, you got a poem out, you want to come and help somewhere and have a virtual performance, this is the platform for you. Art for Change is that space. If you want to talk about some money literacy, let's come over here. If you got some therapist or you're a doctor and you want to come talk on our Therapeutic Thursdays episode, we would love to have you on our Soulful Sundays. If you
Yes.
are a Soulful member, if you got something for food for the soul for the people, we'd love to have you on the Soulful Sundays. Yes, this is the place to be, the place to be. If you ain't here, I don't know where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Art for Change, baby. Until next time, peace and love. And don't forget to Art for Change.